So recently, I've been running into this comic book content. It starts with the people asking question, are you a comic book fan if you don't read comic books or something like that? And I see a lot of those opinionated uh, content. And I say, why not? Why not? Why shouldn't I? Well, I'm just as opinionated as these guys are. So I thought I'd give it a shot. Are you a comic book fan if you don't read comic books? I mean, why the gatekeeping here? Sounds like a kind of like a gatekeeping language, you know? If you say you're a comic book fan and you didn't read any comic books, who am I to say you're not a comic book fan if you think you are? I mean, you know? So here's something that I've noticed about people's opinion. They only focus on, in comic book reading. I'm going, hold on. Comic book reading? When did reading become such an important thing in comic book? What about the seeing comic book? Have you guys seen the comic book? What happened to the appreciating the art in the comic book? Why we have to be all what? If we don't have, it's not a good comic book. If it doesn't have a good writing, comic book has something unique thing about it to distinguish itself from the literature, right? Well, this comes from a person who came to the United States at 1974, and when I first got hold of American comic books, because I missed my manhwa. I didn't read comic books. I just enjoyed the art of the comic book. And I had to get the story from I used to read quite a bit. I call myself a bookworm before I call myself a comic book worm. So, yeah, I do enjoy reading comic books, but I actually enjoy reading, period. And when I first started collecting comic books, I did not read them. I enjoy the art in them. I enjoy the storytelling without the words because I couldn't read the words before, So yeah, can I be a comic book fan without reading a comic book? I say yeah. You could enjoy the storytelling without reading the words. When I first got the books, I go, why all these boxes? So much words I don't understand in this little box. Never mind those words. At least those words in the bubble were like something I could, relate with. But those words in the box, what does this mean? Meanwhile, what do you mean meanwhile? What does meanwhile mean? So I did not read comic books when I first came here. So yes, you can be a comic book fan without the reading comic books. So yeah, And again, who am I to say you are not a comic book fan because you don't read comic books? Hey, if you call yourself a comic book fan, that's all who you are. You, if you're lying, I mean, why would you lie about something like that? You know? I mean, what do you gain by lying about that? You know? So I'm not a fan, but I'm going to say I'm a fan. I'm a comic book fan without reading it, without enjoying the art of it. Can you be a comic book fan? Well, if you say you are, I mean, I'll take your word for it. But no, I'm a comic book fan, comic book reader, comic book art appreciator. But there's no reason for you to not believe me. And there's nothing again if we don't believe me or not believe me. You know, no gatekeeping here. So, I mean, if you collect comic book for the slab, okay, you know, you like to grade it and you like to, you know, restore it, you know, and you want to keep a history of it without ever reading the book. Maybe you want to just know what the story is about by someone's say so, you know, that's your thing. So I'm okay with it. Call yourself a comic book fan without reading it, without appreciating the art in it. Fine. Oh, by the way, there's something I noticed about this. I call it a tail wagging the dog, you know? Why all these opinions come from a comic book reader of America? I mean, what happened to manhwa, manga? I think I better stop right there. I'll discuss the tail wagging the dog on my next walk. And we'll talk about manhwa, manga, and comic from made in USA. Anyway, until next time, Namen out.
Additionally, temperatures dropping into the 20s overnight will result in slippery streets, sidewalks, and extremely hazardous conditions across our city. Due to these factors, we are declaring a state of emergency and instituting a travel ban starting at 9 p.m. this evening and ending at 12 p.m. tomorrow.